G'day, AJ Mahar here. Been a while. Been really busy. Life's been really busy. I have a podcast coming out later tonight, I believe. It's a really long one. I hope it'll be helpful. Gonna be trying to do some more videos. Hope they're gonna be shorter too, because that's helpful for people at times as well. So what do I want to talk about here? Well, I see this trend. It's not brand new, but it kind of seems to be expanding. So are you somebody who's been in a relationship with somebody with BPD, any relationship type really, or significant other, and you've been ghosted or discarded, or you broke up with them, the relationship is over or needs to be over, but it's a trauma bond, the cognitive dissonance, the pain, etc. And not everybody with BPD is the same, and not everybody with codependency and or CPTSD, both onset in childhood, by the way, not caused or created by the borderline, but not helped by the borderline at all, that was maybe in your life. Or if you're still relationship recycling, if you're in limbo, if it's on and off, if you just can't get to no contact, if you don't know which end is up, whatever your circumstance right now. A lot of people in all of these different iterations of circumstance after a BPD relationship and breakup and ghosting and perhaps hoovering back, like I said, wherever you are with all this or whatever iteration of it you're in, there are people that just, vilify, really hate, are super angry at the person with BPD, and it's understandable. And people have a lot to deal with after these relationships, whether they're totally over or the on-off stuff, which really is people not focusing enough on themselves and elongating their pain, as I've talked a lot about. But I'm seeing this trend, and I've heard from clients, and I've seen it before, and I've seen it talked about online, and I've had clients mention it to me. But the reality is, a lot of people who are the BPD Ex or have a person with BPD in a different relationship type in their life and it hasn't worked out and or you have to go no contact are kind of more and more seemingly becoming a BPD apologist. And when a person becomes a BPD apologist, if the relationship is in limbo, on, off, relationship recycling, or you were ghosted or discarded, hey puppy, and it's not working out, sorry, dogs, Grace, leave it, thank you. And things aren't working out, well, people that have become apologists, you might not realize this, but I've seen a lot of comments on the channel too, and elsewhere, that really indicate this. Like I said, along with clients who mention things like this to me, they indicate they're kind of in this BPD apologist place, experience, mode, minimization, rationalization, and maybe denial still about what's really real about many people with BPD, especially undiagnosed and untreated. So being an apologist means that you're a person, or if you're in that role of, and maybe you don't realize it, people that are being BPD apologists are people who are offering an argument in defense of something controversial. And in this case, it would be people that are apologizing for what a person with BPD did to them, how they were impacted by them, how they were affected in their life by them. Can you relate to this? Is this happening for you now? Has this happened maybe for a while for you? Because a lot of people come out of these relationships, significant other or other types of relationships, favorite person, etc., come out of these relationships really still feeling so much, and in fact, often too much, for the person with BPD, right? Loving that person who they really aren't. Loving the person, the potential that you fell in love with, and that type of thing. But the BPD apology thing seems to be more around, well, they can't help it. Even borderlines need love too. I can't go no contact with somebody. I've never done that in my life before. I don't think I'm a codependent. These are the things people say. I don't think I'm a codependent, but like people with BPD deserve love anyway, or somebody has to love them, or why would you just go no contact from them? Why would you just stop loving them? These types of statements, which are minimizing, which are self-abandoning still, which are too much focus on the people or the person in your life or who was in your life with BPD. But see, a lot of people leave the relational dynamic as they need to get into therapy to work on breaking the trauma bond, healing codependency and or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, both which have onset in childhood, by the way, and are not caused by the relationship with somebody with borderline personality disorder. Just like you didn't cause all their issues, it's that's one similarity with vast differences. But what am I going on about here? Well, I just wanted to say something about this to maybe help somebody who out there, or if this resonates with you in part even. If you think that you might be a BPD apologist in the sense of minimizing your pain, minimizing what happened to you, minimizing the importance of how responsible people with BPD are for how they affect other people, even if they have no awareness of how they affect other people or how they affected you. So it's a minimization in large part. But nothing is that black and white. I mean, with people who have BPD, it's black and white. But nothing is as black and white as when you're coming out of the relationship and or you haven't spoken to that person for a while. Maybe it was a final discard, and you're really hurting and you're confused and you're lost. I'm out here to work with people, by the way. If you resonate with me and you're in a hurting place and or you're lost or confused, minimizing, maybe still, abandoning yourself or wanting them back, and the cognitive dissonance and the rumination and all the agony when the trauma bond is still intact, even if you haven't talked to the person with BPD or heard from them for days, weeks, months, years. And it's different for everybody out there. There's all kinds of different iterations and time periods and amounts of agony and pain that, there's commonalities in that agony and pain, but it's not all the same for everybody else either. Like for each one of you who's been with somebody with BPD. And the key thing about if you think that you might relate to being a BPD apologist, they couldn't help it. They really did love me somehow. They tried. They deserve love. And I'm not saying that all of that is untrue in the sense that people with BPD are deserving of love as human beings, but they can't really love you. They don't know how to give love, untreated or undiagnosed. Obviously, that's untreated too. They don't know how to take in your love. They don't know how to trust your love. They're not living fully enough in the here and now because they're living primarily in the past, so triggers, which belong to them and aren't your responsibility. They're going to have a lot of triggers, and it takes them back in modicums or different degrees of dissociation. And then they're coming at you, or they give you the silent treatment, they withdraw, or they're coming at you with all these accusations. They're picking fights, they're doing whatever they're doing, and you're sitting there going what? What happened? I don't even know what happened. Nothing happened, because nothing really happened in the here and now. Nothing really, you didn't do anything. No, it wasn't that you said this instead of that, or you thought this instead of... You can't remedy those things with or for a person with BPD. So this BPD apologist is sort of mindset, feeling, I don't really know what to call it, that a lot of people are in or falling into. It depends on your perspective. But when you've just been really hurt and traumatized and really severely impacted by somebody with BPD, do you think that it's healthy for you to be saying things like, well, they couldn't help it? Oh, wasn't really that bad. They deserve love too. And I'm always going to love him or her. even though the love wasn't healthy. And to various degrees, most people in these relationships with codependency, at minimum, with somebody with BPD, you're putting yourself second still, and you're over-focusing still on the person with BPD, and excusing their need to take accountability and responsibility, and saying like maybe they can't help it, which I know a lot of people will say a lot against, and I'm not here saying that, because whether they can help it or not, they're still responsible for it. Whether they understand it or not, they're still responsible for it. So where would it fall to a loved one, an ex-loved one of somebody with BPD, to then be apologizing for them? And when I say that, I don't mean you're going around apologizing for them to other people. You're doing that inside of yourself. You're not putting yourself first. You're still putting them first by maybe still being in cognitive dissonance, not having broken the trauma bond, still being codependent, not having gotten into your own healing and recovery journey. But the other really important part of all of this is that if you're in the BPD apologist mindset mode, can I put it that way? You might not even realize it. But it's kind of like excuse making for people with BPD. And if you're going to excuse make for the person that hurt you so badly, that can definitely affect your ability to get into a healing and recovery process. It will keep you enmeshed. It will keep you in the trauma bond. It will keep you stuck for, until you can work that through. It can keep you stuck. Just wants to stick out that way today. It can keep you stuck in unknowingly in kind of still caring more about the person with BPD, as if you wish you could still fix it, or you might well really want to kind of still be able to help them, to change them, to fix them, to make that relationship work. That relationship that you couldn't have dreamed what you were getting into, that you probably never heard of BPD before, that you didn't know what that could entail. And I'm not here to vilify people with BPD at all, but I think it's really important to not be a BPD apologist for somebody that was, hurt you with BPD. At least initially, in general, but initially through your healing and recovery process for sure. But the other thing is, the need for no contact, the need for what you need to really be able to heal and to recover and to find yourself again. People lose themselves. So being a BPD apologist for many people is still a testament that isn't helpful to how not only trauma bonded you likely still are, how much you haven't done the healing work that you'll really benefit from doing, the kind of pain you're still in, that you're making excuses for them. And that, you think you still love them, they couldn't help it. Well, even they need to be loved too. Well, they're worthy of it, but they can't trust it, they don't take it in, and essentially they make it impossible for people to love them when they don't get treatment, when they don't have any awareness of their negative impact and how much they're seeking identity through others and needing you to be everything for them, and then they're not really available for you, and there isn't mutuality, reciprocity. It's very toxic relating, not healthy at all. It's very one way. You give, they take. You have a need and they're nowhere to be found, or they pick a fight with you. And so a lot of people are just being in this BPD apologist mode for many different reasons. And the other reality of it is it's making excuses for them. And when you haven't worked through your own pain, cognitive dissonance, rumination, and further down the healing, you need to gain the emotional mastery over the impact that this person, or maybe it's been more than one, with BPD has had on you, so that you can find your own way through a healing recovery journey to heal the codependency and become an individuated individual and be able to have healthy boundaries, be aware of yourself, understand the red flags for cluster B, etc. So can you relate at all to making excuses for a person with BPD, or in general for people with BPD, when you've been in a relationship with somebody with BPD? Because we know that people untreated with BPD have all kinds of excuses. And there are all kinds of BPD apologists. But I'm talking about the BPD apologist that many codependents become. Many people who maybe aren't sure if the relationship is over, and all that agony. It's really important not to minimize your own experience, and it's really important not to make excuses for them because they have BPD. Because BPD is highly treatable. For anybody that will really go and seek the most efficacious treatment modalities and stick with it, BPD it has an excellent prognosis, but it's still not the majority of people that will take that journey. And many people are with people, and I think most people I work with as clients, working with now, have been for 35 years, people that, watch my videos, listen to my podcast, you're listening to other people and stuff on the subject. When you're searching as you are, you have a hunger for something to work, for it to be what you thought it was, even though it isn't and it can't be and it won't be. Very painful, very difficult. But being a BPD apologist, and especially when you haven't even got your healing work done yet, it's not that you have to vilify them or hate them. And some people aren't even as angry. Maybe they'll find their anger later. It's a phase, but people go through this healing recovery, these breakups, the ghosting, the discarding, in many different ways. Everybody is really severely impacted. Everybody is really, really hurt. But not everybody. Some people get really angry. Some people get full of hate. But then there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's either or, but a lot of people who just still feel so much love. And sometimes pity, which is really wasted emotion, doesn't help you, doesn't help the person with BPD. You may still have empathy for them. You may still care about them. And to some degree, as you work to focus more on yourself and to shift and to get help, to be able to heal and recover from the relationship and the impact of somebody with BPD in your life and on yourself, it's just really important not to minimize and not to deny what you need to face, what you need to heal by being a BPD apologist, which is essentially making excuses for them. And that only supports their own victim narratives. And it's only something that would enable them to stay the same. And so think about that, because maybe you can relate, maybe not, but if you can relate, maybe ask yourself, reflect on to what degree might you be being a BPD apologist? What is motivating that? Is it the want of the person with BPD back with no change, and maybe they're going to hoover you, and the hoover happens quickly, and they're going to say everything you want to hear, and nothing's going to be different. You're going to go around the same cycle again. And why is this so difficult to get separated from, to break the trauma bond, to be able to not be so focused on them, not be making excuses for them, not be feeling sorry for them, not be all these things about them instead of about and for yourself. I just marvel at what these puppies find and what they're playing with at certain times. Anyway, can you relate to minimizing and still focusing too much on somebody with BPD that maybe you want back, maybe you can't get back, what you don't want back in your head, but in your heart? And how can you stop being so focused on them? And how can you learn to shift that focus? And I'm out here to work with people that resonate with me to help you on all of these aspects of the healing and recovery journey, along with, breaking the trauma bond and getting unenmeshed from the person with BPD, which is to say, how do you actually detach from all these things you're still feeling? Because that's really what you need in breaking the trauma bond, is to work on healthy detachment. In the meantime, though, no matter what people do feel, some people feel empathy for them, exes, etc. If you have a parent with BPD as well, or NPD, and some people feel, like they need to just excuse everything. That's self-abandonment, by the way. I don't recommend it, because the tragedy of the woundedness, of the trauma, of the nature of what BPD truly is, looking at it from a holistic psychology perspective and not a psychiatric, American Psychiatric Association, DSM, a lot of the misinformation out there about BPD, it's really important not to be making excuses for them. It's really important not to be a BPD apologist, because you might want the BPD back, or you don't want them back, but you still love them. Because when you're still loving them, the other really important point there is, how is that you still love them when you really never knew them and you don't know who they are because they don't know who they are? So BPD apologists growing amongst codependents, exes, in some ways, and then there are people that are vilifying and full of hate and anger, and that's not that can be part of recovery, but it's not healthy to stay in that place either. Got to find the middle, got to detach, got to break the trauma bond. So are you somebody that's been making excuses for the person with BPD, or you might have more than one person with BPD in your life? Maybe was a partner, maybe it's on and off, maybe it's an ex now, but you're not comfortable or happy or like okay with that, you're still in a lot of pain. Or are you somebody making excuses for not only an ex, but maybe a parent with BPD as well? Because a lot of clients say to me, my childhood was great. And even with some people that start off with that, we then come to realize and understand by my getting the history and what really happened and that hurt people in their childhood. Often it's a borderline mother or a narcissistic father, or a borderline father and a narcissistic mother. But yet people think that they were so loved. I'm going to have a lot more coming on that too. If you're a child, as well as maybe an ex or a partner trying to still make it work right now with somebody, especially untreated, but not super well enough treated, there isn't much middle there. It's either very well treated to almost healed and recovered, or not relationship ready or capable. So think about if you're making excuses for them, because that's going to be blocking you, focusing on you and getting into the healing recovery process that you need. So I hope that was helpful and food for thought. Take care.